Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alfred, and this is my monthly look at Clockwork Empires. I record one of these approximately once a month, which is when updates to the stable branch of this game get released. So, this game's updated from 44B to Alpha 45 just this past Friday, and then I've spent a couple of days just fooling around with it and reading the patch notes and refamiliarizing myself with what's new and what's been fixed. And so here we are. So we join a colony in progress here in New Sogwood. That's the jungle biome. I've built myself a nice little colony here. I made it a priority to surround my fields so that they're harder for beetles and fishmen and stuff to destroy. Yeah, and so I'm not going to be playing much this episode. Mainly I'm going to be going over some of the more interesting stuff from the patch notes. And then for subsequent episodes, I will start a new playthrough, possibly in another colony or with another starting loadout. And we'll go from there. So we can observe that the colony is more or less developed. I mean, there's a bunch of buildings that still haven't... there's more stuff I can build, right? And over here we can see a building. This is actually my second kitchen. This is my primary kitchen here. Yeah, okay, not going to get distracted. One of the more interesting additions to this revision is building quality and tied into that decor. So if we look at like my metalworks here, you'll notice I've actually gone to the trouble of putting up these nice picture frames and this this hat shop sign on the outside. And here's another one, right? In this residence here, you can see I put up the wall shrine and the armoire and the middle class rug. And oh, I've just got a notification that, oh man, the chapel's a happening place. This is also new. So colonists look seeking confession, which is actually a job that requires the vicar to perform, or I believe the congregant, which are the workers underneath the vicar. They will go to the chapel seeking confession in this case. But the vicar was not available for whatever reason. He was busy elsewhere. And so the game will notify me that that job went unfulfilled, right? So if we open up the chapel office, we can see that. Actually, I believe we can also see this in the jobs list here. And I've also got notification of a new bandit colony, or bandit camp. Anyway, back to decor. So if we look at the lower class housing here, for instance, I could have jammed it full of cots. However, every workshop now has this house quality meter or indicator. Right, so the workshop here is uncomfortable, and if we look at the tooltip, it says it lets us know that the workshop quality ranges from -6 to +6. Modules and beds reduce its quality, whereas decorative items increase its quality. So for instance, in this lower class house here, I have a number of beds, but I also put in some furniture, which brings quality up to -1. So the quality of a house influences the happiness of a colonist. So if they spend a lot of time in a building that makes them unhappy, it will be reflected in their personality. And so it's important to make the buildings that are frequently visited nice places to be in. So that's, I mean, prior to this, decor had no real purpose in the game. Like, this is our decor menu. You can put on all sorts of little doodads and lamps and decorative pots and these cool little like mounted animal heads, all for various amounts of resources. They didn't do anything until now. Oh, so now, rather than just cramming beds everywhere, as I have been wont to do because colonists did not care where they slept, now I will. It makes more sense to put them in houses that you're going to decorate properly. So that's one new thing that came in with this revision. They actually tested it out in the experimental revisions between 44 and 45. Yeah, but this is the first proper revision that's in. There have also been changes to farming. So farmers are another failed confession. Muriel Chainlock is seeking confession, and where is the vicar? He's idle. Why is he hanging out in the kitchen? And someone wants to research the genealogy. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Well, I don't know what's up with the vicar. Anyway, Farming. Farming has seen a little bit of revision. Farmers are now a little bit more intelligent about planting crops. So you'll notice here I have 2 giant plots instead of like 4 little plots. I used to actually, a number of revisions ago, it used to be practical to plant giant plots, and then with changes to farming, it was necessary to plant. It was more efficient to plant lots of little plots, and now it's back to being more efficient to plant big plots. Long story short, farmers are more intelligent about planting plots now. Whereas when you had a big plot, farmers would plant the heck out of it and then not have enough labor to tend all the plants, so they would wither and die in the fields. They don't do that anymore. So now they're smarter about... We're being raided. Yeah, we'll fight them. So farmers will interrupt planting for tending. So tending plants takes a higher priority. Basically, they won't plant so much that they can't tend them anymore. So you can make big plots and you'll get less spoilage. Now, if something happens, so if the expected amount of labor is not present because your farmers have all been chased off by bandits or fishmen or whatever, there's still a possibility that your plants will wither. But in that regard, farming has been made a little bit more forgiving than it used to be. Also, some sort of event with the fishmen. I'm friendly with the fishmen right now, so I'm just going to stay friendly, even if it makes Zora Steellock unhappy, because I don't want to be fighting the fishmen and the bandits. Right. Soldiers have seen some changes. So if we look at one of our soldier work crews here in the jobs list, you'll notice they don't have the... Actually, all of these job filter buttons have been changed. But most significantly with soldiers, they no longer have the filter buttons that will allow or disallow them from performing like other duties, mining, hauling, forestry, that sort of thing. And someone's just been killed, a bandit. Say, bury the bandits. A word on corpses later in a second. So, soldiers, the only jobs available to soldiers now are rally at a rally point, so you can direct your soldiers, or hunting. They will shoot wildlife for meat, and they won't even haul the meat back now. Other colonists will do that for you. So that's soldiers. Every other work crew option is still available to every other work crew. But for some reason, the hunting job button has been moved from the end of this line to the front of this other line. That's probably just cosmetic. Yeah, so that was soldiers. A new thing, which I won't really be able to show you, because this is a save that I've played some time in, and plainly I can't control when procedural things happen. So some new events that hopefully maybe I'll be able to show you in the playthrough. There have been improvements to the Fishman AI. When you have friendly relations with fishmen, you still have a number of options to deal with them when they're being jerks and jumping up and down on your crops or whatever. You can passively let them do their thing or shoo them off in hopefully a non-aggressive manner. However, fishman reactions to those to your actions are varied. Sometimes they will peaceably leave peacefully. Sometimes they will react in a poor manner. They will become angry, and that will actually provoke conflict and often sometimes lethal infighting. So even if you're trying to peacefully shoo fishmen off your land, there's still a possibility of bloody conflict and open warfare. Fishmen also have a range of new behaviors now. They have, if you've ever been to the shoreline and the beach, you may have seen fishmen eggs. So fishmen lay eggs in these sandy little nooks in the sand, and you can actually harvest them for caviar, which probably you can probably guess makes the fishmen very unhappy. Now, in the same way farmers can shoo beetles away from crops, fishmen will try to shoo your colonists away from eating their children, which I thought was pretty cool. That's you may respect their wishes, but if your colony is starving and that's your only source of food, that's something you might actually want to risk. Another new thing, which unfortunately, again, I won't be able to show you, ghosts. Spectres have been added to the game. Specifically haunting and vengeful spectres, which are created under different circumstances, and that's the autosave going off, by the way. I haven't seen any yet, so I'm not quite sure how they affect the game or even what they look like. But the patch notes say that in addition to spectre behavior, vicars can deal with ghosts in some kind of exorcism, I guess. So that's something to look forward to. There have been more, the cult mechanics have been beefed up. Prior to the present, the madness mechanic, people would become insane, but that would quickly deplete. Like the amount of their insanity would drop rapidly to the point where they were no longer insane pretty quickly, just by being happy, but from a bunch of mundane things like having regular meals and beds and things, which by and large meant that a lot of the more involved cult mechanics never saw the light of day because you need sustained periods of madness. That's been changed. So because madness was dissipating too quickly, there are now eldritch means to sustain madness for longer. I'll leave that for you to find out, and maybe we'll see it. But there have been new culty robes and things cultists can do. That's pretty fun. Related to that, it's now possible to destroy shrines. So one thing cultists do is they get together in their hooded purple robes. I'll just save that favor for later. And they would build shrines in the darkness outside of your line of sight. Now, prior to this, your only option was just to tolerate it. However, it's now possible to order them destroyed, and naturally, this makes cultists unhappy. And I've got 3 immigrants. Yes, come join the colonies. So, if you don't want the maddening effects of cultist shrines, you can destroy them, which will upset the cultists. And it may be in your best interest to appease the cultists, because they're so protective members of society who only very occasionally get murdery and do horrible things with monsters from beyond the Outer Dark. Another thing, pubs should be working better, and one particularly annoying bug, the vicar confession bug, was fixed. So one issue that previous revisions had was that colonists who went to the chapel seeking confession and actually received that confession from the vicar, they would actually freeze in place and eventually just starve to death. Because there was something broken with the job, basically, and they would never get back. They would get stuck in a loop. That's been fixed. So confession will no longer cause your colonists to wither and die. As you can see, though, maybe it's just my vicar, Pearl Bootcowl. Well, who knows? I was thinking maybe he wasn't taking confessions regularly because he had the lazy trait. But whatever. There's any number of reasons why he's neglecting his clerical duties. Anyway, so the vicar confession job is fixed. It works now. And pubs should also work a bit better. Also, for the spiritually inclined colonists, they will now pray at wall shrines, like this one I've installed here in the bunkhouse. So that's another source of spiritual relief for your colonists. Now I said speaking of corpses from earlier, so corpses left unattended will become a source of vermin. That is, those very little beetles that come and try and eat all your crops, and then your colonists run around trying to stamp on them. Oh, I got another overseer. And another colonist has not been able to give confession. Yeah. So corpses you didn't bury in a timely fashion used to spawn vermin, just a continuous stream of vermin instantly. That's been tweaked a little bit. So corpses, that is human colonist corpses and bandit corpses, will only begin spawning vermin after a full day has elapsed. Now vermin corpses are the exception. Vermin corpses will stick around a little longer unless you dispose of them quickly, and they may occasionally be the source of the beetle curse. Yes, so there are 2 curses added to the game, which I haven't seen them in play yet either. This is just from reading the patch notes. But there's a beetle curse and there's a tree curse. I don't know what they do. I'm really interested in seeing what they mean for the game. But yeah, so that's vermin and corpses. Another minor thing that got fixed. If you remember my previous playthrough, much fun was made of a lady who died while carrying a stake, and the stake was just glued to her hand, and when colonists went to bury her in the graveyard, the stake went with her, and then it stuck up out of the ground for all time after she was buried. That won't happen anymore. Colonists will now properly drop things when they die, which is just a nice little graphic touch. One final thing to mention. Well, not final. I guess I've got a couple more things. Colonists now write their own journals. So if we look at, say, Gideon Brazenwalker's memories here we have the usual stats panel and his most recent memories. The transparent ones are mild memories whose intensity has diminished over time, and those will be the first to be replaced when he gets new memories. And by the way, what's this? Oh, I'm not going to accept black market goods. And each of these memories shows its influence on his various happiness and sadness meters. He's not at all insane. Here's who he's friends with and his skills and various things. But down here at the bottom, we have the new journal ability. So we have a summary of his entire previous week. And then above that, we have a summary of just the one previous day. And so now you can see what his most recent memories are. And by that, you've got a little bit more feedback as to what his daily experience is like. And if you look at a number of different colonists, then you can see what's affecting a lot of people, right? You might realize that people are not getting enough to eat, or even though you thought you had enough beds, lots of people are having to sleep on the floor, and it's making them grumpy. And if everyone's always getting in fist fights, then you're going to have to start building a pub and brewing some booze. And Hubertus just shot something. I thought we caught him hunting. Oh, what's going on here? I thought we were friendly with the fishmen. Huh. Well, good thing I've got plenty of soldiers and plenty of guns. Yeah, so anyway, that's a quick overview of the new stuff in Revision 45. Again, the game is... it saw a number of experimental revisions prior to this, and this is the latest update to the stable branch. Overall, I think the game is a little bit more stable than it was, and several game-breaking bugs have been fixed, and there have been a bunch of balance-related changes. Yeah, so I hope this has been informative. Again, this is the first episode of the monthly series I do, so this is not really me playing the game, it's just me going over the new stuff. Starting with episode 2 and then going on for, say, maybe 3 or 4 additional episodes, I will actually play through the game, and we can see how colony development has been affected. Aside from that, my name is Alfred. The game is Clockwork Empires. It's a game in development in early access, being developed by Gaslamp Games. It's available through the Humble Store and through Steam. Again, early access means it's not done. There are bugs, not everything's in it. Things will be broken, stuff is being polished. But I think the game's in a pretty good place. Thanks very much for tuning in. Have a good one.